now, though, let's move our attention to what's happening according to the minority. What they've been speaking, actually, they've been accused of sleeping when the SNIT's alleged financial malfeasance story broke. But let's just say they are awake now. As a matter of fact, they said they are consulting. So let's focus our attention now on their new allegations about the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. They say he single-handedly approved a 10.45 million cedi loan to Magdan Shipping Company, whose CEO is said to have close ties with the finance minister. The minority MPs say the contract was awarded on June the 9th, 2017, but the review committee, which was to approve that contract, was only constituted in August 1st. They also say that there is no board for the Public Procurement Authority to approve the contract. So they're asking, who is approving these contracts? Let's hear from the minority on this matter.
We have in our possession a letter dated 9th June 2017, reference PID PEU 01-2017, signed by the Honorable Ofori-Atta, giving approval of a loan of 10,459,500 from the ADB to Magdan Shipping Company Limited. He has reduced the mandate and role of the Minister of Finance to some credit disbursement entity, in order that he can reward, as usual, the political cronies. The letter addressed to the Managing Director of the ADB with the heading, read, Approval of Credit Facilities, Magdan Shipping Company Limited, states in paragraph 2 that approval is hereby granted you to disburse a credit facility in the sum of 10,459,500 Ghana cedis to Magdan Shipping Company. This is to enable the company undertake its business operations and in particular to execute a supply contract awarded by the Ghana Cocoa Board. And ladies and gentlemen of the media, we'd like you to probe further whether this contract was awarded through an open, competitive tender process to guarantee and ensure value for money, or it was one approved of what was a sin, sole sourcing. The minister has by this action usurped the authority and functions of the bank, its board of directors, which has curiously not been constituted. So we are concerned, where is the board of directors of the major financial institutions of our country? And for many of you, even beginning the first quarter of the year up to second quarter, banks needed their board of directors to take critical decisions which provided them with lifeline and even for credit approval. The I'm in a hurry president is not in a hurry to get the board of directors of these financial institutions, including ADB, properly constituted. Further, it is clear that no due diligence was conducted by even the management of the bank before the minister's approval. If you are there, you just get a letter from the Ministry of Finance, and it says that approval has been given. If you are part of the board, it's fait accompli. You certainly will not have much to add. Best corporate governance practice requires that the board of directors of the bank, which is vested with the responsibility of overseeing management and governance of the bank, approves or sanctions financial transactions of the bank and not the Minister of Finance. These are people who parrot that they are experts and champions in corporate governance. The rationale for such a provision is to ensure that due diligence is done before any financial commitment is made. This provision ensures that the financial risk and exposure of the bank are reduced to the barest minimum, if not completely eliminated, to protect shareholders. We don't want to believe that the non-constitution or composition of the board of many critical institutions of the country are a deliberate attempt by the government to usurp the functions of governing board and take illegal, inappropriate, and imprudent financial decisions, such as what has been approved as a loan for Magdan Shipping.
Nothing untoward has happened. A bank that has government as a shareholder is doing a transaction. At the time they are doing the transaction, the bank board had not been constituted, not out of malice, but because shareholders were still having some disagreement about how to structure their board. And so the bank wrote to significant shareholders, including government, and asked government whether or not it was objected to the transaction go ahead. The custodian of government shares, finance minister, wrote back and said there was no objection, they can go ahead, but once the board is set, they should now go to the board for ratification of the deal and ensure that all the due diligence is complied. The minority decides to avoid the letter that the bank wrote to significant shareholders, and then they go and pick and choose the reply of the finance minister who was writing as custodian of government shares. And even that one, they skip the first set of paragraphs, or the first paragraph. That gives the background I've just given you. Then they jump to a paragraph where he responds to their specific request. And then they interpret that to mean that government has deliberately refused to form the board so that the finance minister can usurp the powers of the board and indulge in conflicting interest transactions. First of all, conflict of interest is a legal matter, it's a technical matter. They have not been able to show if interests are supposedly conflicting in a manner or in this manner. We are going through the process of building the outstanding board. ADB board is already in place. We are going through the process. You know, some of these boards, you have to get some clearance from regulators. There are some of the boards that you need, maybe Council of State, to look at the appointments you are making. So we are going through the process. Suffice to say, majority have been done. In the shortest possible time, we'll complete what is outstanding.
So that was the minority. You had the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, there, who, by the way, celebrated his birthday this week. Happy birthday to you, sir, once again. And then the Deputy Finance Minister, Information Minister, Kojo Opon Nkrumah, responding to the minority's allegation against the Finance Minister, Ken Oforiatta. Well, some have said that the minority has been very selective on the kind of information or or what matter they respond to. And we're going to find out from, before we even go into the allegation about the ADB, Magdan, etc., whether or not you find it curious. Let me start with you, Seth. Whether or not you find it curious that the minority silence on SNET.
Well, I will not say it's curious. I heard, I think, one of the leaders of the minority saying that the minority as a group supports the work that is being done by PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Okay.
Yeah, they support it, and that they wait for the report or for their reports to come before they comment.
But this is a minority who can organize. They've organized press conferences upon press conferences. I mean, and it's almost immediately a particular story about the majority or about government breaks. So what is stopping them from organizing that kind of press conference to put out this information?
That is where I also fault the minority, because in the previous instances, you thought it wise to address a news conference. In the same vein, you could have organized a news conference and tell Ghanaians that, yes, you support the investigations being done into the Senate saga. So you would like to wait. But you don't keep that quiet for a media house.
There are thoughts that they may be implicated somehow. Of course, the Senate's board was constituted under that administration.
Yes, no, Gifty, no matter what, the Senate board was constituted under President Mahama's administration.
Right. And so, every transaction that went on there went on as part of the administration, that particular administration.
Yes. So if the whole exercise had been successful, the Mahama administration would have taken the credit, isn't it? Yes. So if there are challenges with it, they should also be bold and accept that, yes, things didn't go well as we all expected.
And that's it? Things didn't go well, but those who were responsible for that malfeasance, if it is so established, will have to face the law.
The minority cannot conduct investigations into the malfeasance.
Right.
The minority cannot prosecute those involved. Okay. It is the government of the day that has the power.
So the is to speak.
Yes. So for me, they should have done that.
Okay.
They should have, addressed the news conference as they've been doing. After all, what would it have taken them to? They easily mobilize the parliamentary press call and address the whole country.
Okay.
Now, this is what has happened. Yes, and Thompson, and even though Thompson has been working at Senate for years, I'm sure almost all his entire working life has been working with Senate, and those board members some came in, others have been there. And you see, Gifty, what is curious about all this is the role of organized labor in this whole saga.
Actually, I brought in SNIT because, of course, SNIT is not even part of what we're talking about. But I brought it in because it is the minority that's making an allegation. And I brought it up because people have raised questions, or people found it curious that they haven't spoken about those things and they're now bringing new allegations, which is why I brought it in. So let's not go too much into into the SNIT issue. Me too. So, I'm also a SNIT contributor.
So we have to be very careful.
Okay, Kobe.
It's not the best. Then for me, they should have addressed or spoken about it. Yes, they should have addressed a news conference. Okay,
to Kobe, are you
A, B, C, D?
Right. Kobe, do you find it curious that the minority has been dead silent on SNIT?
No.
Why?
Why? Have you heard the majority speak about McDan shipping the loan? I gave set a strain. I just want. Have you heard the majority speak about the McDan this thing? Have you heard the majority?
How does that apply?
That's the point. I'm saying that the majority will tell you that they are studying the McDan thing. Just as
they have not said so.
I'm saying,
but you see.
Okay, so let me just grant them that the minority says that they are studying. In fact, at this very news conference about the McDan thing, that question was thrown to the minority leader, and he said yes, they are aware of it, but then they are studying the document and they are also awaiting the Pricewaterhouse investigations.
So that has not been the minority we have come to know. No, that's the point I was trying to make. But the minority we have come to know in this particular, or in these particular times, the minority
that I know
are the minority that speak immediately when a story breaks.
No, are the minority that take time to be sure of their facts before they speak. They don't speak just because an
that
issue
has not been the trend. Well, at least not for this year.
At least that's the minority that I know.
Okay.
The minority that I know.
Okay.
So that is the minority that I know.
Okay.
Now, and they have made a point that yes, they are aware of the SNIT thing, but they are consulting on it, and they are also following the investigations that are ongoing. But I find it curious that the boss issue happened. The majority didn't speak about it. And nobody found it curious that
the energy ministry was there.
I said the
energy ministry spoke about it. Actually, the majority spoke about boss. They did speak about boss.
The energy ministry actually came to backtrack from investigating.
Anyway, just so we don't digress. Let's now move to the new.
Is being selective. That's the point I want to make.
Well, that's why a lot of people are saying.
Well, that's because a lot of people are.
And that's because we have seen that the minority has not spoken. Let's look at Ken Oforiatta. New allegations that have been brought against him by the minority in Parliament. Of course, the Deputy Information Minister has explained and says that the minority seems to be taking bits and pieces of information that suits the point that they want to make. And the point that they want to make is that the Finance Minister is usurping powers. They think that because boards for these let's say for ADB has not been put in place, that the minority, the Finance Minister as government trustee, or who represents governments in the shares, they're trying to fault him for doing basically nothing wrong. That's what the Kojo Ponkuma is saying. They say that it is not a deliberate attempt to award any contract, but that all the stakeholders of or shareholders of ADB were consulted, and they were okay. They were okay with it. What he only did was to.
Did he say all the shareholders of ADB were consulted, or those are your words?
Most of the stakeholders. He actually had an interview with one of my colleagues on News Desk. He says that some of the shareholders have been consulted, and it was okay with them.
Well, I thought I heard significant shareholders were consulted, and then that for me is also the question. But let me start from the beginning.
Okay.
The minority held a press conference, and there were several issues beyond the beyond the approval of the loan. The approval of the loan itself raised an issue which the minority addressed. Their point is this: ADB is a publicly listed bank. It is not a government of Ghana wholly owned bank. That even if there is no board, the finance minister could act if the laws were allowing for him to act as a credit committee of the bank and approve of a loan in place of the board or something. You understand? So that is their problem. The minority stated problem is that this is a publicly listed bank. Publicly listed bank means that the shareholding is no longer solely government. There are other shareholders. Government, even as we speak right now, is not the majority shareholder. Government holds significant shares in ADB, but government is not the majority shareholder.
But when other significant shareholders have been consulted in pushing, and this is a Ghanaian business anyway.
As we speak right now, we only have Kojo Nkrumah's words of there are significant shareholders have been consulted, and I'm surprised that Gifty and Apia, who is not usually given to taking word from government as a gospel, wants us to take.
Certainly not.
Precisely.
But I need to present to you the other side of your point.
But the point
and that's what I'm doing.
But the point is that Kojo Nkrumah says that significant shareholders have been contacted on the matter without even giving us any evidence of that fact.
So what you're saying is that we require much more than just Kojo Nkrumah's word. That's okay, but to put me in that, but to put me in the premise of your argument, I think it's flawed. No problem. Let's move on.
You have always been my darling girl, you know that.
Let's move on with the point. So your point is that.
So I'm saying that Kojo Nkrumah telling us that without any evidence that significant shareholders have been consulted. Without any evidence, without even mentioning any one of those supposedly significant. And in any case, what is the determinant for a significant shareholder? What level of shareholding?
But of course, we still need more information.
What level of shareholding makes one a significant shareholder, and what level of shareholding makes one a less significant shareholder? You understand? And this is a publicly listed company, a bank that we are talking about, and that is where the minority stand is. Then the minority also raised an issue about the fact that the letter from the finance minister spoke about McDan having been awarded a supplies contract by Cocoa Board, for which they needed the money to execute that, particularly that project. Now, a project of the value of over 10 million Ghana cedis requires the approval of the procurement authority. And they are making the point that if that is the case, as by the finance minister's own letter, and there is no procurement board in place, how could that contract have been awarded? That is a significant question that needs to be answered. And it must not be brushed under the carpet because it is the minority that is raising it. They also raised the point that, was it done by tender or by sole sourcing? Because if it was done by tender, it requires that a certain process take place, and that process, to the extent that the tender board is not in existence, that process could not have taken place legally. If it is done by sole sourcing, that also has a problem, because that process, sole sourcing, must also go for the approval of the tender board. Yeah, you can do the sole sourcing, but the significant sum of money you are talking about must go for approval by the tender board, and you don't have that board in place. So under what circumstance was those contracts awarded? And that is the issues. And sadly, Kojo Nkrumah, good broadcaster, eloquent, and very, very good with the English language, did not address those things. Because, seriously, is it true that at the time that the finance minister wrote the letter, he wrote that there is a supplies contract worth 10-point-something million Ghana cedis that McDan had won? Yes, it is true. Is it true that he said the contract was awarded by Cocoa Board? Yes, it is true. Is it true that at the time that the contract is said to have been awarded, there is no tender board in place? The Public Procurement Authority board is not in place, and if it is not in place, that contract could not have been legally awarded. Yes, that is factual. Okay. So why are people not focusing on those things, and they are asking the minority go and focus on SNIT? Yes, SNIT is important.
No, nobody is. Try and decouple that. Try and decouple SNIT. SNIT came up because we're talking about the minority. Oh, okay. But the substantive issue that we're dealing with.
So I have divorced it.
All right, I hear you. Is the allegations that have been brought against Ken Ofori-Atta?
You see the point? Right. It is not against Ken Ofori-Atta. Okay. It is against the process that has been used.
Right.
You understand? Let's
as an editor, let me ask you, as an editor, you've raised some questions that require answers. As an editor, how do you expect people to deal with this particular story so that we can get the answers to the questions you have just raised?
Which is what we are dealing with. I asked you the question. Is there a contract per the letter as written by the finance minister? First of all, the finance minister's letter at the face value, can it be taken as anything of credible? Of course, when a finance minister of a nation puts his signature to a letter, you can be sure that the content of that letter is verified and authentic.
Okay.
So yes, it's we on the face of it, we accept that as a prima facie fact that there is a contract awarded by Cocoa Board, and the contract is a supplies contract.
Okay.
Now, but then wait a minute, there is no public procurement authority board in place.
So how did we go?
So how did we
So
get
it's the
those
same
things?
questions. Now,
you understand? So that is where I expect Gifty and Apia very curious, very probing, very, demanding of answers to start asking Kojo Oppong Nkrumah.
Okay, so basically that's what media outfits like Multimedia and Ghanaian Lens should be pushing.
That is what
to get
we are
answers
doing.
To. That's what. Try and remove me from the equation.
Not telling the Kojo Oppong Nkrumah story at face value.
As for the Kojo Oppong Nkrumah story, we will tell. Yeah. But there are further probing that needs to be done. That we will do. But when Kojo Oppong Nkrumah says something, we will report it.
Tell Kojo Oppong Nkrumah's story and say that his story raises these questions.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's an editor giving you some tips there. But this is obviously a story that requires much more probing, which of course media outlets will do. Let me find out from you, Seth, what your own thoughts of
when the story broke and I heard the government's response, the question I asked myself was that what was urgent about this particular law? That without the ADB board not being in place, the finance minister can go ahead and give approval.
Right.
If we are being told that boards do not matter, then we should be told right in the face.
Well, if you are being told that, is that something you are willing to accept? Because whether whether or not you are being told shouldn't be the thing. Is it right? Is that allowed by our laws? Maybe.
Gifty. The letter that the finance minister wrote was categorical and straightforward.
Have you seen that letter?
Yes.
Okay.
Approval is hereby given. So that
10.4 million.
When the board is in place, then the board will ratify it.
That's what the letter says.
Yes. That is what the letter says.
The board
I just paraphrase. That is the paragraph 2 of the finance minister's
letter.
Okay. Then the explanation that came from the government side, and I heard my brother Kojo, that the minority, was choosing and picking. So I called back and I said, "Oh, is that the case? I don't. If you allow me, I'll be tempted to cite an instance in the past."
Oh, feel free to. By the way, just so you know, Kojo Oppong is a patron of this. He likes watching the show a lot. So I'm sure
remember this
watching and listening
Kasua
to you.
interchange project. The then candidate Anado said that project was overpriced and blah blah blah, and it became a sing-song. Even where Honorable Ediomu, who is the deputy road minister, came out to say that no, apart from the interchange, there are other ancillary jobs. And as I speak to you, the Kasua Obom Road is being tarred, which is also part of the another routes that are being done.
Let's not risk digressing.
See, now I was curious when Kojo said that the minority is now choosing and picking. I said, oh, we are just 8 months down the line. If we are to play back some of the things that were said,
okay,
yes, the allegations that were made and the response that the NDC government at the time also gave, we shouldn't go there. If it is wrong, it is wrong.
You are not satisfied with the answer
I'm not satisfied
that was given
because if you are being told that boards are no longer necessary, fine.
Would that be fine with you? Because that would not be fine with me.
But that is what has just happened.
So as an assistant editor in chief,
that is what has just happened.
What in your opinion should media be pushing for? Because
yes,
I, as a media person, will not accept that boards are not important.
As we speak, we should find out from Cocoa Board whether indeed Cocoa Board has given a contract of 10.45 million cedis to Magdan. Because somewhere in the week, Magdan also came out to say that no, I've not been given any contract from Cocoa Board.
Okay.
So we have one area as a media to look at, to delve into.
Right.
And for me, I'm here. My question is yet to be answered. What is so urgent about this? You see, because 10 points for every, you say well, government is a significant.
They could still have waited for government to set up the board, and then the board.
Government is a significant shareholder, but government's share what percentage? It's a 32 or that 32 about. So the 68. Who are the people who own the 68?
Okay.
What you see, for me, Kojo could have done us a little more, better. If it could have dealt with us a little more better. If he had told us or provided evidence that yes, the ADB, the loans committee of ADB, wrote to shareholder A, and this was the response. Wrote to shareholder B, this was the response. Okay. Now, what we are being told is that government being a significant shareholder, and the government shareholding, how do you call it, percentage, we are being told it's about 35 or 36, 32 or 36.
No, but that's
which is still less.
But Gifty,
you see, so we need, as we often say,
further and better particulars.
Further and better particulars. Okay. So that the government must open up. Must tell Ghanaians, yes, we wrote to ABCD.
Okay. So we need specifics.
Because the finance minister's letter was categorical.
Okay.
Kobe, that is exactly my point. The finance minister's letter, if it was a no objection letter, for instance, to say that government as a 30-something% shareholder of ADB has no objection to you granting this loan to whatever, subject to whatever.
That would have been okay with you.
Not have any problem.
Okay.
That letter would have taken into cognizance the other shareholders.
Okay.
But listen to the words. Approval has been given, which means government usurped the authority of all the shareholders to actually give the approval. So nobody should come and tell me that significant shareholders have been consulted.
Okay.
If indeed that has been the case, the letter itself would have acknowledged that upon consultation with other shareholders, approval is being given. In which case, those other shareholders would have been mentioned.
Okay.
So this whole thing about consultation with other shareholders is just a red herring and something that is an afterthought that is being thrown in after.
So going forward into the week, I guess that these are the
ADB should not disburse the money. It should hold on.
It appears it's already been disbursed.
But let the board be in place.
It has been disbursed,
so that they can.
So
going on into the week.
Going
on into the week, these are perhaps some of the areas that we want to be looking at. What processes led to the disbursement of that amount, if it has already been disbursed? What processes, of course, did the finance minister himself subjected himself to? I mean, specifics actually, not that everything was done the right way, as some media organizations who have spoken to him have said he responded to say. But we're looking at what business do they have? Does Magdan shipping has with the with Cocoa Board? Why the urgency? These are all the questions, some of the questions that are coming out. Specific names of the shareholders who the government claims to have consulted. These are areas that we need to know. But finally, on this matter, before we wrap up, while we're running out of time, we need to also talk about the GJA as well. And but finally on Ken Ofori-Atta and the minority. He hasn't really spoken about the matter.
Has he really spoken about anything?
He's quite a reserved person, isn't he? Within what time frame, as media people, would you have expected that he would respond? Should it be? No, there's sometimes that you have to be tactical. I mean, when stories break about you, sometimes you have to take your time to answer. Sometimes you have to quickly answer. As media people, what would you, if you were to advise him, the finance minister, what would you have told him about how to deal with this particular issue?
For me,
you don't want to advise
the
him.
way the way the response came, it's as if.
Which of the responses? Because the finance minister
hasn't
hasn't really spoken. I think one media house that spoke to him after a program, and he said he would have thought that
I
the right things were done.
His was a very short, a few seconds.
Yes.
But then the information from the finance ministry was communicated to the government communicators. They had it, and they were talking about it until Kojo came in to speak. You see, for me, you should have copied the response to all the media houses, as they often do.
So, like some kind of press release?
Yes.
On that matter, because providing more information.
Yes, and as we speak, have you come across any press release to that effect? Have you?
Okay. So you think that a press release would have been more efficient? I haven't.
Yes.
Okay.
It's only Kojo who has come out as a deputy information minister to speak. The rest had been.
You think that he has muddied the waters?
The rest had been government communicators.
Okay.
And you see, the minority had a news conference in the public.
So they should also respond with a news conference.
A statement to clarify issues would have been better.
Okay. I think you don't want to advise, but you have some words to say on that.
Oh, I know, sitting where he's sitting, I think that perhaps he's taking the best advice he could give himself. Stay off the subject, hope he dies off quickly, and the media goes on to the next subject. Perhaps I think that's the approach he's adopting. He adopted that approach with the 2.25 billion bond matter, and it looks like if the minority hadn't moved to the level of going to SEC in the US and all this, that would have worked for him. So it looks like that appears to be working for him. But the thing is that these are things that are being documented, and at the right time, they will be played back and with devastating effect. So you are better off clarifying the situation right now, if there is any clarity, or making the necessary apologetic moves and getting the Ghanaian people on your side. After all, we are all human. We all, in our quest to do right, once in a while, we get it wrong. So if you, in your quest to do right, get it wrong, the proper thing to do is to come up and own up to it that, oh, I thought I was doing something to help, but then yes, my good intention is not enough. You understand?
Would you expect the contract or whatever transaction has gone on to be reversed? Would you expect something like that?
First of all, I have heard McDan say that specifically he doesn't have any supply contract with Cocoa Board. So that also raises question about the authenticity of the letter, or the authenticity of the information in the letter provided by the finance minister. But I'm prepared to give the benefit of the doubt to the finance minister, insofar as that letter appears to be a response to a letter from ADB. So perhaps that primary information from the ADB's letter may have been the one that gave the wrong information to the finance minister. So I'm prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt on that score. But then also, how would ADB get that information wrong? Is it that Magdan gave ADB the wrong information in the application for the loan.
I haven't looked so much into Magdan's angle of the story.
Yeah, okay. So I'm leading you onto it. So is it that?
No, I've seen that I've seen headlines of he's saying he's not.
I'm looking at it.
Right.
So in that case, who provided the wrong information and at which point? Okay. Was it at the point of request for the loan, or ADB in trying to make the finance minister the loan appealing to finance minister misinform the finance minister? I don't know. Right. These are questions on my mind.
Lots of questions.
But then Magdan also gave another interview and said they rather have a clearing contract with ADB.
Okay.
Now that is.
Well, we've got to wrap it up there actually, so that we can move on to.
It's important. Now, at what point did clearing contract become a supply contract? Or when was even the clearing contract itself awarded?
So it's obvious that there are lots of questions that need answers. So going on during the week, we're expecting that the media will be on the story and to get all of this the questions answered. I'm going to take a quick break right after this conversation, which is about, since we're talking about the minority, bring in a bit of the former President John Mahama's work in Tamale and what he's been saying so far. We're doing this very brief in just one. We'll just go. 1 minute.
You love GM, don't you?
Me? Why? Why? He's a former president.
Of course.
But why do you say that? Anyway.
You just love GM. That's it.
Okay. So this is how it went in Tamale. What's to be expected?
No.
Okay.
You say you love GM too much.
Let's watch the program.
No, but it doesn't mean you are. But the fact that you cover a president doesn't mean you are a member of his party. You don't have to be a member of his party.
You don't have to be a member of his party to love him. I know a staunch NPP man who has General Morris's picture on his
very well. Let's talk about John Mahama's work over the weekend. It's quite interesting. I've looked at the picture. It's quite interesting. Asiedun Ketia's facial expression. It looks very funny. It looks like there he is. He doesn't look very excited. I don't know what the problem is. I don't really know. But quickly, let me give. Is that so? Is that oversized?
Yes.
It's not oversized. That's the style. That's actually the style. And I don't see the former vice president there as well. I don't see who else?
Did you see me there?
Well, you're not there. Alban Bagbin who is also, in the northern region, wasn't there as well. Let me take quick thoughts of that from you. 1 minute each on John Mahama's work. People have said that this is a clear indication that the guy is going 2020. People have said that. So I want you to speak to that. I want you also to speak to the General Mosquito's demeanor, what it says, the absence of Alban Bagbin in 1 minute.
I must
comment.
No, let him finish.
I must commend the former president, for coming out to join the work in Tamale.
Okay.
It's not easy to lose power, and not just losing power, but with such a wide margin. Elsewhere, some people they will decided to remain in their closet.
I'm hoping you're doing this in 1 minute, because
yes.
I'll catch you at 1 minute.
Yes.
Okay.
And he joining, at least, it's a way of fraternizing and also trying as much as possible to forget about the bad memories of 2016.
Or preparing the grounds for 2020.
It could also be.
It could also be. You are a former presidential correspondent. I'm sure you have some information that we don't.
It could also be. And you see, all the people who have spoken one time or the other, served under him, who have been telling us that yes, JM will be going.
Okay.
So if he goes, I will not be surprised.
Okay.
Yes, but the issue is the bigger picture.
The bigger picture. You've done your 1 minute already, but quickly, what about Asiedun Ketia's demeanor? What does it tell you? Does it convey any information?
I don't know whether
Alban Bagbin's absence.
I don't know whether he was happy or he was sad. But the way he stood there, and maybe because the former president was
he didn't look cheerful.
Yeah, he was waiting for his turn to speak.
Okay, but that's how you see it.
I admire his heart.
I see.
Yes. Abba said he was not there but he met the former president at the airport.
So he was there, so he could have been a part of the walk.
So they had maybe he had his own program. See, this walk, I heard about it through Suhini, MP for Tamale. on I think one of the TV stations. But I didn't know that it was being organized by the NDC.
I mean, when you see the former president there, and you see the minority, the general secretary of the party, your expectation is that this is
the impression I got from
the party
was
is
that
supporting.
he was organizing unity work for his people.
Let me come to Kobe. Kobe, 1 minute. I mean, Seth has done like 2 minutes, but let's see if we can do yours in 1 minute.
Okay, so I saw minority leader. I saw the.
But was minority leader there? Yes. I didn't see him.
But that is his area.
I saw minority leader.
Oh, I didn't see him.
Yeah, the father didn't see him.
Well, that's the picture. I don't see. Wait, is he there?
Yeah, minority leader is
I
there.
see. Okay.
I see minority leader.
I don't see him in the picture.
Because you don't see him doesn't mean he wasn't there.
No problem.
Okay.
No problem.
So I've seen. Okay. So you've seen significant. Look, let me tell you something. John Dramani Mahama, whether he likes it or not, some of us would want him to lead the NDC
in 2020. It looks from I said Nketiah's demeanor. It doesn't look like he's happy about that kind of agenda.
No, but you see, I don't know. I've just seen Nketiah clapping at something that
he's
from
not clapping.
You didn't see it. You were looking at my lovely face at the time, and you did emphasis on the lovely.
Okay. Okay.
So you see the point. The point. So you see, and that is the man.
Yes, but I said Nketiah likes talking. So he's talking to people, but when he's standing behind John Mahama, he doesn't look very cheerful.
I see Edu Nketiah is a generalissimo. He knows his oranges.
Okay.
You understand? So what he's doing right there is the fact that the NDC, a section of the NDC has decided to hold a walk for so NDC people. And they invited John Dramani Mahama and invited significant players in the NDC. Some decided to honor, some decided that they had other, not decided, some may have had other engagements, prior engagements that would not make it possible for them to be there.
You don't see it as factions within the party already ahead of the 2020 decided?
When I hear that, I laugh. The political parties by necessity are
there are factions.
A collection of factions and interest groups. So it is when the factionalism becomes negative in terms of conflicting with each other and threatening to disintegrate the whole. That's is when it becomes an issue.
I think you've done 2 minutes.
Really not
so we'll leave
an issue that a political party has.
You obviously are very happy with this particular topic.
I am happy at the fact that
the funny thing I've also heard is that
we have to move on.
Somebody whispered into my ears that somebody within the NDC just brought out the Senate issue in order to dwarf the interest of
ambition of Professor Alabi.
Professor Alabi.
Well, hopefully we'll discuss. No. We can't go into that. No, we can't go into that. We'll discuss that. We'll invite you again.
30 seconds. That in fact, no, it is true that perception is out there, but that perception cannot be true because there is nothing that anybody can throw at anybody who has been an appointee under John Mahama and expect that it will not touch that John Mahama. So there is no way anybody who is supportive of John Mahama will be supportive of anything targeted at anybody who may be desirous of competing with John Mahama. No,
we hear you.
Because if you target Alabi,
you're targeting the NDC.
Ultimately, responsibility goes to John Mahama.
You're still watching Editors Forum. Editors Forum with me, Gifty Andropia. I'm here with Seth Eya, Assistant Editor-in-Chief at GBC Radio. And also here with me is Kobe Fiagbe. Kobe Fiagbe is editor at the Ghanaian Lens. We're taking a very quick break. When we return, we'll look at what is going to happen, what is expected to happen as the police CID invites multimedia group representatives and the CEO of the JoyNews group of companies over some investigations with the district and municipal assemblies. We look at the future of journalism and we'll try and touch on Operation Vanguard and their activities this week. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. We'll be wrapping up in a bit, but before we move on to multimedia, JoyNews, etc., I have one comment that I want to just read quickly so we can move on. It's from Bosompim Kwekwasari. He says, Kobe is making the program quite boring because he lacks objectivity on all the issues. For instance, on Free SHS, he was talking about transporting one's child to school as cause for concern. If your child's school fees has been paid, should it be a problem raising money for transport? Okay, I think if you're following, I did ask him that question. So, Kobe, that's you. You're laughing. Okay.
You know why I'm laughing?
No, it was not meant for your comments.
Oh, what? Okay.
It was not meant for
my
your
parents were
comments.
in
Okay.
And I was going to school at the
Okay, so let's move on to our story.
So
our next
that
story.
is the point.
Now, the Criminal Investigations Department in the week that's just ended have invited representative of the multimedia group group, as well as the CEO of the JoyNews group of companies. They've been invited to help or assist. To assist the CID department, the police CID department, of course, in investigations. After JoyNews' investigations discovered that contracts were awarded under questionable circumstances, as there were no immediate need for the 1 million waste bins to be supplied by the company. Well, watch this story. When we come back from that story, we'll have a conversation about this.
It has been 2 weeks of revelations by JoyNews into how the JoyNews group of companies, together with government officials, some of whom were at the local government ministry, robbed the various assemblies. In the first of 2 revelations, 5 companies, all subsidiaries of JoyNews, won a contract to supply the assemblies 1 million waste bins and 900,000 bins at a contract cost of more than $74 million. Further checks indicate that the assemblies did not even need to sign the contract at all, because there were already thousands of waste bins at the various assemblies waiting to be transported to various homes, offices across the country. The contract was all sourced under questionable circumstances. Already, the CID is probing the matter, as it has extended invitations to JoyNews Group and JoyNews. Speaking on Newsfile earlier, Vice President of Imani Ghana, Kofi Bentil, says former government appointees in the erstwhile Mahama administration must also be questioned.
We have a system where public officials engage in a situation called creating, looting, and sharing public funds. Now, you know what? It's a serious matter that we should take time to look at and find out how to prevent. I'm going to say something which I don't know how to rub people. In all of these things, I don't think that Joseph Sian Ejapon of JoyNews Group is the biggest problem. I don't. He's a businessman, like I said last week. He would take opportunities and advantages, sometimes some he shouldn't. So he becomes part of the chain. I'm not saying we should not go after him, but we definitely must be going to the root to figure out how we are going to prevent this create, loot, and share. It is one Collins Dowda who is pushing for payment on urgency basis. It's the same Collins Dowda who said in the dry season that rains were imminent and therefore we should go and get 1 million more bins when we had 50,000 coming and we had more we haven't distributed. And I'm saying it looks like that is the source of all of these things. I'm saying let us not simply focus on JoyNews. Let us go to the roots. And it's not just politicians again.
On his part, the North Thorn MP Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa asked former government officials to respond quickly to such investigations to dispel rumors they might have done something wrong.
I want to, advise, especially former senior colleagues and all of that, that when these issues come up, some take the position that, oh, let me leave it and all of that. You don't offer your side so that people can have a balanced discussion.
No, all that are concerned actually where before the stories will be aired,
yes,
we're giving the opportunity to tell the story.
Exactly.
And they decline.
Yes, but I'm saying that even when they have declined at the time of the investigations, and the results have been put out, please put out a statement. Let's hear your side.
The managing director of the State Transport Company, STC, Nana Akomia, has been applauding JoyNews and its investigative team for its anti-corruption crusade.
So that is some sort of a summary of that particular story which broke this week, and of course wrapping it up with what had happened yesterday on Newsfile. Let me find out from you. Let me start by asking for your initial thoughts. Actually, this story has generated a whole lot of debate, including the future of investigative journalism or investigative journalism in itself. The GJA has waded in, Paul Adomochwe, on all of those funny incidences. Let me start by taking your initial thoughts. Let me start with you, Seth.
Well, Gifty, I would say that what has happened is an abuse of our local governance system.
Why do you say so?
I'm saying so because, Gifty, over the years, ministers of local government and rural development have sat in Accra and carried out certain projects or programs and build the assemblies to pay. And what normally happens is that the amount is deducted from their district assembly common fund.
Right.
So whether you like it
or not,
or
you're
not,
paying for it anyway.
you are paying for it. And that has been, you know, I don't know, that is what has been happening all the time. And I think that, look, it's likely that some assemblies may not need this number of waste bins. So what stops the ministry, or at the time, what stopped the ministry from going to the assemblies and ask them, how many waste bins do you need? If the assembly says that, or if the assembly had said that, we don't need any waste bin, you don't supply them.
Well, it's been supplied.
See, because those that have been supplied are lying in the open.
As we can see. Kobe, your thoughts on that, and then we can move in to talk about the CID, police CID inviting multimedia representatives as well as JoyNews to assist them with investigations. And
that is exactly where we have to move to. The point is that this is a matter that has been raised. I remember in the year 2009, I was following similar thing about, again, JoyNews, how local government contracts were signed under the Kufuor administration, and like they were supposed to be paid ahead, whether they delivered the job or not, and that kind of thing. But then, when I spoke with the previous office holders, they kind of explained that, look, under the circumstances that confronted the nation, they thought that getting a guaranteed performance and how do you call it, giving JoyNews or giving a company the assurance that, look, your money will be paid and will be deducted as source for you, will guarantee performance and all that kind of thing. Well, however it is, I think that system has continued up to this point. But if they can be proven, and as it is being suggested by the report that there has been laxity in performance and that kind of thing, we wait for the CID to conduct their investigations. And once they conduct their investigations and bring the findings out, then we can look at it. At this point, I am not ready to, and that is where the GJA statement.
Certainly, what I was going to drive you to. So let's look at the GJA
that is
now.
where the GJA statement is very, very, very accurate, very, very, very spot on. Except that, given the how do you call it, the circumstances at the time, given the
timing, right?
The timing, given the fact that this investigation has been airing, or the reports from these investigations has been airing, and it looked as if
the statement was targeted at
that investigation. That is what.
But you think it wasn't?
I want to give the GJA the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
I want to, because this is not the first time GJA has come out to issue statements without mentioning specifics.
About how to do journalism. About how to do good journalism. I don't remember.
No, several times over.
Okay.
Several times.
I mean, you mean this particular administration?
Not this particular. I'm talking GJA.
General.
I'm talking GJA, Ghana Journalists Association.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the timing of it is what creates the suspicion in the minds of people that perhaps this statement is aimed at scattering this investigation. But even so, I don't see how that statement by itself could be read
it couldn't have made any impact on the story or on the investigation.
It's meant to guide you to be sure that, look, even if you want to be judgmental, go ahead and be judgmental, but make sure that you have
do
a
it
basis,
in a way that doesn't unnecessarily target people.
You have a basis for that judgmental opinion.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
And that is my understanding of the statement. So, and so the reaction from some civil society groups to the GJA statement also took me a little aback. It's as if to say, yeah, this is the company we have been looking for all this while, and now we have them on the spot. You are issuing a statement that has the potential of slowing down.
Because of time, Kobe, let me bring Seth in.
It kind of makes you realize that there are several interests at play that really are not overt at the moment. So I'm prepared to just wait wait for the CID to finish the investigation.
Okay, we are waiting.
We'll probe that the report when it comes out. Okay,
so your own thoughts, and then we can now talk about the GJA. They're going to, we understand that we'll be voting on the 29th. I mean, it's tentative, so we'll wait for confirmation.
I like the word tentative.
Give me your thoughts as well on GJA.
I must commend my younger brother Manasseh for the good work that he's been doing over the years. I read the GJA's statement and I said, oh, okay. On the face value, I said, well, that is our mother association advising us. But what I also asked myself was that, why this particular time? So then two issues came into my mind. Is it because of
the election?
Manasseh's expose on JoyNews' contract with the government? Or is it extend cubic issue? Or is it because my senior colleague, Mr. Money, wants us to know that he's around because of the election? So all these things were running through
your mind.
Through my mind. Then the Media Foundation for West Africa came out with its own statement. But I am happy the CID has invited Manasseh Multimedia and the JoyNews chairman. But the CID, Gifty, was it necessary for them to put out a statement? Telling Ghanaians that.
But even when they do it, I mean, we as a media organization, they're likely that we will also put it out there.
Written to Multimedia that we need ABCD. They could have written to JoyNews group of companies.
With the media involved in this, with the media involved in this, if the information is out there, it's only natural, isn't it?
No, but is it? So you send everybody to have a letter.
Anyway,
we want us all to applaud you that you have written to JoyNews group.
Well, I don't know about that, but because unfortunately we've run out of time.
But you also let the people of Ghana know that they are working on the matter.
Right, so, but I was going to ask, I mean, you've already made your positions clear that we'll wait for the CID's investigation, but what the three of those who are going for the GJA presidency, Afomoni, Lloyd Evans, Johnny Aite, which of them inspire confidence in you for the future of journalism in this country, or journalism association in this country? For you, these three, which of them inspire confidence in you? Okay, Seth, which of the three inspire confidence in you?
Don't put me in a tight corner. Afomoni was my former boss, and now Johnny is also
your boss.
Is also my boss, my current boss.
Lloyd Evans.
And Lloyd Evans has been a friend.
So
I wish all of them well. Whoever wins.
But are you two voting? Are you a member in good standing?
I'm not a member in good standing.
That's
not a member. So both of you are wasting your votes.
No, now there's a. We've been given how do you call it? A moratorium for us to go and settle our.
I think I think the deadline has caught up with you actually. Anyway.
So we'll go and pay.
You're going to pay and vote. Okay, we'll see how it goes, but it's going to get very interesting in the coming days for the GJA. I wanted us to talk about Operation Vanguard. I mean, this week they've made us understand that they've made some gains. They've arrested some people. Actually, some have been prosecuted and gone through the system. They've been jailed, about, is it 29 or so of them? Some people have said it's a good thing. I wanted to find out what you have to say. I mean, if we can do this in 1 minute.
Anything to protect our environment is a good thing, so long as it is being done in accordance to law, period. and with the initial hitches that came up, they've refined their modus operandi and they are operating
so
now.
We're good.
And so we are good
to go. So Operation Vanguard team, if you're watching, thumbs up from Kobe Fiagbe. What about you, Seth?
It's the same thing. They've done a yeoman's job.
Okay.
They've done a yeoman's job. But I want to plead with the government to lift the 6-month ban on small scale
mining
and monitor the activities of the license.
See, the problem is that in Ghana there is so much confusion as to what really is small scale mining. I'm not talking about as stated in the law.
Okay.
I'm not talking as stated in the law. As stated in the law is very clear. But when it comes to the operational side of things on the ground, there is so much blurred area as to what is small scale and what is galamsey.
Clarity needed.
On the ground.
Clarity
so
needed.
No, in the law it is clear, but in the operational field, there is so much, and that is why the ban is needed. I'm not
so for you, the ban should be for him. The ban should be
for the moment.
The ban should be revoked as far as he thinks. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. This has been Editors Forum. I've been here with Kobe Fiagbe, very controversial editor of the Ghanaian Lens. There, spicing up our show, and also here in the studio with me is Seth Ayia, who was senior when I was doing my national service at GTV, by the way. Seth, yeah, your work. Thank you very much for coming on the show. He's Assistant Editor-in-Chief at GBC Radio. My name is Gifty Andropia. I've been your host. I've been doing this, of course, with a lot of people. I can't remember all the names, but my director, Yao, camera, Tosh on camera, Fruits on camera as well, Daniel Dazi.